Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. And it's raining right now. Hopefully you guys don't hear the rain as much in the recording. Hopefully, if not, if it is, hope you guys don't mind at all. But anyways, today I thought of talking about what are my best movies of 2023. My top three best movies so far in this year. Now, 2023, I feel like it's a definitely better year for movies in general. Last year, I feel like we were sort of slow in terms of the movies, but rightfully so. I mean, we were still recovering from the pandemic and all. So this year, I feel like we are sort of getting our footprint there in terms of movies hitting the theaters, especially. Definitely some memorable ones this year, and I would say this year has been pretty fun because of the amount of sort of franchise movies that sort of came about this year. I mean, you had Indiana Jones, you had Mission Impossible, you had Guardians of the Galaxy, you had Ant-Man, you also had Fast and Furious. So there's a lot of big franchise movies that came around this year. I think definitely there's some memorable ones, I would say. And also 2023 is not over yet. There's still a few more months left. And there's still, upcoming movies coming out. I think even recently we have the Killers of the Flower Moon, which I haven't watched yet, but I'll definitely do a review on it. And there's also some movies that I may have missed out this year, but I do want to watch. For example, like Asteroid City. There's also a film about Ferrari, and I'm a big Ferrari fan, so hopefully I'll watch that as well. But either way, for now, this is my top three best movies so far. I'll also give some honorable mentions. Without further ado, let's get right into the video with my first entry of the top three best movie of 2023. It's a mouthful, but my first entry is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think this one, I feel like a lot of you guys might see it coming because it's a fantastic movie. I think they've done it again. When the first movie came out, it was insane animation, probably the best animated movie that I've ever watched. They still continue to do so. I feel like Across the Spider-Verse was just pretty, it was just beautiful. I couldn't see any fault in it, to be honest, in terms of how it was presented to the audience. I felt very captivated in the beauty of the entire movie, and the animations, it's just phenomenal animations throughout. So I have no complaints on Across the Spider-Verse. Watching Across the Spider-Verse sort of makes me feel like how laid back and chill and simple Into the Spider-Verse was. Like Into the Spider-Verse was not as serious as the second one. I feel like they've taken it to another level, and the plot is more expanded, it's more complex. There's a lot of things that can happen now considering what happened in the second movie, and I feel like they've just outdone themselves of what they did with Into the Spider-Verse. Like, they had the bar up here, and now with the second one the bar is even higher. So they've done an amazing job with the movie. And I like, again, like, all of the characters was insane. To see a bunch of Spider-Mans in that movie was insane, because there's a lot of things, a lot of Spider-Mans. You're sort of like, hey, this guy is this Spider-Man, and this guy is this Spider-Man, he's from this comic, and all of that stuff sort of came in. So it was just amazing to see all of it, and a lot of memorable moments as well. And I think the characters were insane. Miguel being probably wearing my favorite suit of all times in the Spider universe. The 2099 suit is insane. But yeah, I enjoyed the entire movie. It was entertaining. That I couldn't find any fault really in terms of the movie. So yeah, that is definitely my first entry right here, Across the Spider-Verse, and I highly recommend, if you have not watched it yet, go and watch it. Really do recommend watching the first movie before watching the second one, because you kind of don't want to get messed up in the timeline and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's go into the second entry in this list that I have, and that is Barbie. Now, Barbie, sensational. I think everyone was hyping around this movie. It was just a very hyped out movie, and I know what you're thinking. I know a lot of people who have not watched the movie may be thinking, why have you watched Barbie? Isn't that a children toy based movie? It's actually a lot more than that. I feel like a lot of people sort of miss the point. When they see the name, they immediately think about, oh, it's just a movie about the toy. But I feel like there's a lot more that the overall movie offers, not just in terms of showcasing, Barbie in real life in front of the kids, but also there's a lot of moments in the movie that, sort of relates to the society issues that we have, sort of stresses on certain areas, certain discussions that even the real world right now may have. So a lot of things Barbie shares and Barbie sort of depicts in the movie, you can reflect it on what is happening, in the world. That's why I feel like the adults can sort of, look into and sort of relate that into. Are there still flaws in Barbie? I feel like there are some flaws in it, but overall I feel like I enjoyed the entire movie. It's very funny. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, and that was insane as well. I really enjoyed those moments. So I feel like Barbie overall 10 out of 10 for me in terms of its experience. And I think the one thing that a film can really do is not just entertain you, it sort of gives you back something. After the movie, you come back out of the theater and you're still thinking about the idea that the movie is showing it to you. The concepts and some of the themes and some of the topics that the movie discusses on is something that you sort of think about for a few moments after the movie. So that's why I feel like Barbie was amazing. That's why I would say Barbie is one of those movies that can just give back something to you for the time that you spent watching the entire movie. So yeah, Barbie was a 10 out of 10 experience for me, and I would say that is definitely one of the entries in 2023 as the best movie. Now, before we go to the first one, I thought of giving some honorable mentions that I've also watched this year and I feel like they were amazing. The first one being Guardians of the Galaxy. I think for a long time Marvel has been stumbling with a lot of flops in terms of movies and series. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is definitely a step up in terms of quality in entertainment and production. When I watched the movie, I sort of missed those old Marvel days. Those was very special. Those were very exciting. Whereas right now it's a lot of mess. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was definitely a fresh moment to see from Marvel again. They sort of like hit their old rhythm back again with this movie. And I feel like this year, it's not really their year yet, but I definitely feel like they did something this year. Guardians of the Galaxy is just a popular franchise, so around there itself there's a lot of hype. But with that hype, you gotta build something amazing. Characters were phenomenal. I think Rocket, obviously being the main character, to be honest, in this movie is definitely a stealer for the entire movie. The other characters were also amazing. I just miss that sort of wittiness that the entire Guardians had, and they sort of kept the same formula but also upgraded that storyline to be amazing. Also, I'm talking about Marvel stuff. I am gonna be making another video of just talking about what has Marvel been doing, because I have been caught up ever since I uploaded this video. I left out one series, and on purpose, because I watched 2 episodes of it and I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore. But in a few weeks time, I will be putting out a video talking about the recent Marvel releases. All you have to do is just subscribe, keep in touch with the channel, click the notifications, and when it drops, you can watch it and you can see yourself what do I really think about those movies and series that released so far. So anyway, let's move on to the second honorable mention, and this one I have to go with John Wick Chapter 4. We had John Wick Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Chapter 3 for me is a little bit of a downer, but it's still an amazing film. It's still John Wick being John Wick, and it's exceptional. The actions being primary focus, it's amazing. I feel like Chapter 4 is definitely way better than Chapter 3 in my opinion. Chapter 4 had a lot of great moments in it, and it was just, again, astonishing to see how the choreography of John Wick keeps leveling up. Just well timed, well executed, and it feels so real and violent. The actions are very low key, but at the same time you feel that impact. You feel that the action sequence is just quality. The plot is something that is very simple, but at the same time I feel like you're going to a John Wick film, you just want to see cool badass shots and choreography, and Chapter 4 delivered that, and it's just amazing to see Keanu Reeves back into that action again. So that was another movie that I really enjoyed this year. Now, the final movie that I really enjoyed for 2023 is Flora and Son. Yeah, a movie that I don't think anyone has ever heard of, but this is actually a movie in Apple TV Plus, and I got really into this movie because at the face of it, it was a very simple story. And I have to say, this movie really is amazing and touching at the same time. It's a very simple story, simple plot. I think there's nothing to really process your mind about it. There's no mind bending stuff, there's no complexities. It's simple, it's direct, it's right in your face on where the premise is, what is it about, who are the characters, what they are trying to do. It's very direct in that. It's about a mother and a son relationship, but the mother is trying to be responsible and trying to be better, while the son is like neglected in this unhealthy environment, you can say. This mother and son sort of discover their their relationship and make it more stronger through music, and it's just very well done. I feel like it just flows very smoothly. It's not that slow at all. It just takes its own time, it just takes its own life. You just follow along and you watch the dynamics of the character. You just watch how the story flows, and you just watch each perspective, whether it be the mother and the son in their life. It's just very touching. So I think that is a very sweet movie. It's very beautiful, and Flora and Son, I think, definitely needs a lot of recommendation. Let's just get into the final movie that I feel like it's the best of 2023. It's the best, and I think most of you already have guessed it. It's Fast and Furious X. It's Oppenheimer. I mean, what to say about this movie? The director itself speaks a lot about how this movie really is, Christopher Nolan, and it's just executed very well. I never really talked about this movie in the channel. Here I am talking about it. It's just a phenomenal movie. To be able to take the real world scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and make a movie about him, but also still managing to make the entire movie runtime to be about that man and to not go in another direction. It's amazing. I think there's a lot of people saying that they should have showed the bomb more, because Oppenheimer created that, so we want to see the creation of bomb, like the actual creation of bomb, and we want to see what happened after they launch. But I feel like that is something they shouldn't have done at all, because again, the movie is about Oppenheimer, so from start to finish they have to make about this guy. It's like a biographical film. You're not gonna go somewhere else, just leave J. Robert Oppenheimer and just talk about what he has done and what happened after that. Nolan did a great job to just focus on J. Robert Oppenheimer, to just focus on what he thought of the entire process, and after the incident took place, what was his perspective, how was his situation, and to see the politics involved and everything was definitely an eye-opening experience. Because you talk about J. Robert Oppenheimer, some people wouldn't have known him, or some people would have known him and they would have known what he had done, but they wouldn't have known after the fact of what had happened. So I'm pretty sure in this case they really explained very well who is Oppenheimer and what was his life before the major task, what happened during the major task, how did he got the job, how did he handle the project. It's just fascinating to see how a lot of these superstar actors who are playing these roles, but they are like supporting characters, and it was just very fun to see, like, recognize a few of them. But at the same time, it's very amazing the fact that Christopher Nolan was able to make Oppenheimer just shine through in every single scene. He was the star. It was well directed from start to finish. I enjoyed every single scene. And as the movie goes through, you sort of go into your own emotions and you sort of live in the movie, get immersed in it to the point where, like, all of the dialogues you're trying to like relate to the current world, and you're trying to brain everything, and it gets a little bit scary towards the end to try and think about what they're trying to share, what they're trying to talk about. And yeah, it gets very, very like thought-provoking. And similar like Barbie, this is yet another film this year that definitely gave me a lot of thoughts and thinking and reflection after the movie was finished. Yet again, if that movie is capable enough to do that, I feel like it's a very noteworthy movie and it needs to be highlighted. So I feel like Oppenheimer was just an amazing film throughout its runtime. A lot of people say like it's very slow pace at the very end or during the politics session. Definitely you can sort of feel that it was very dialogue heavy, but at the same time, if you're very keen into it, into science and into a lot of the aspects that they were discussing about, I feel like you can really get hooked on it. It may not be a lot of people's cup of tea, but I feel like it's a very important story that needs to be told because of how real the movie really shows you. It's so grand, it's so epic, it's so monumental. It's a lot of these English vocabulary just needs to be spewed out right now because it's just phenomenal. And music is out of this world. Honestly, I think that one is no explanation. The music is just phenomenal. So yeah, Oppenheimer is a 10 out of 10 experience, and that is all of the movies. That is all of the movies that I feel like it's amazing for 2023. But so far, because there's still upcoming movies, but so far these are the movies that I really enjoyed. Let me know what movies that you have watched. Maybe your list might be different. Maybe you feel like there are other movies that are amazing. Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think about my list? What do you think about each of the movies? Do you feel the same way? Also let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stream sweet but sour.